John Eats Cheap with our 200th video. Less than 2 years we've been doing these, but we do 2 videos a week. That adds up to 200 videos by now. Thanks to everybody. We requested that you send in family favorites, something like that you'd like to see us do for our 200th video. We got a bunch of them, and we're going to end up doing them all, believe me. But we picked a really special one. Jennifer sent one in and had the original recipe card from her mom. It's Rosie's Crazy Crust Pizza. Homemade pizza with a crust that doesn't use yeast or anything like that. And it was so great because she included a picture of the recipe card, which I have recipe cards from my mom, from my grandma that have, it's in their writing. It's really extra special. So thanks to Jennifer for that, and we picked that for our 200th video because she had that recipe card. It's so cool. And it sounds like pizza we made when I was growing up. I never went to a pizza, back then I think Pizza Hut and Shakey's were about the only restaurants. Never went to one till I was like 10 years old. We always just had homemade pizza, and it was usually Chef Boyardee or the Robin Hood pizza crust that you just mixed up, put it down, and made the pizza. That's kind of what this sounds like, but it's homemade, right? So we're going to mix it. Thanks, Jennifer. I hope we do Rosie's Crazy Crust Pizza. Hope we do it good here. These are the ingredients. It's a cup of flour. So you know what? I'm going to start with the milk first because I want to mix up the milk. 2/3 of a cup of milk. And then we add 2 eggs. This is already sounding crazy. 2 eggs into the milk. And then I am going to whisk that up. So I'm whisking those up. I just want to make sure the egg gets completely incorporated into the milk. By the way, I am preheating my oven at 425. And to this we are going to add, I think it's half a teaspoon of pepper, teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of oregano. Mix that all up. We'll have the recipe down below here. I can smell that oregano. This is going to be a crazy crust. And the great thing is this sounds really, really easy. So that's all mixed up. Now let's add our cup of flour. And I'm going to switch to a fork here and just start mixing that in. It's going to be a pretty runny dough, I'm thinking. Yeah, this reminds me of doing the old Chef Boyardee, where it said with meat sauce and it comes with cheese. Cheese pizza. But the cheese was like, a tablespoon of grated Parmesan that they included. I'm going to grab a rubber spatula here. I want to get all that flour off the side. I just want to make sure I get all that flour. I hope I'm not making Jennifer cringe. Saying, that's not how you make it. I'm trying to do it right. So we're just mixing. And as I said, no yeast in this, so you don't have to let it rise. Hey, the oven's heated up and ready to go. I'm just going to get all those lumps out of there if I can. Incorporate the flour. As I said, this is going to be really runny. But I remember those Chef Boyardee pizza kits. That dough was really sticky. It smells good for a crust. This has almost got like a pancake batter type of consistency, and maybe that's what makes it a crazy crust. I can't wait to see how it turns out. And we're going to do in a rectangle pan, so it'll be like, very 60s and 70s homemade or school pizza, right? It looks pretty soupy, but I'm following the recipe. So now we need to get our pan ready. She said spray it. So I'm going to spray it with some vegetable oil. non-stick spray, that type of thing. I'm going to do it real well because this is soupy. And then Jennifer said one addition she made was a little bit of flour on top of that oil. And that does sound like a good idea. I think that'll work. So we're just going to sprinkle it on there a little bit. And just kind of, do this to try and spread it out. Just kind of coat that oil. Like that, see? Just get it all covered and pour off the excess. So Mrs. Cheap just noted this is kind of what you do with a lot of cakes, like layer cakes, that type of thing. When you do, you grease it and then you flour it. Because this is a runny batter, I'm not going to lie. I'm skeptical, but we're going to see. It's not unlike a cake batter, is it, Mrs. Cheap? Or kind of like a muffin batter. So I'm going to pour that in. It smells good, and we haven't even cooked it yet. Let me get all of it here. And of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Try and fill most of the pan with it. And we're going to put our toppings right on top of this, so they'll kind of bake into the crust a little bit. So that'll be good. I've got, let me get my sausage I cooked. All right, so next on the recipe, you add the sauce, just right on top of that. This is going to be tough to spread out, so I'm just going to kind of, we'll give it one of these. The recipe didn't say to pre-bake it or anything. So we'll just kind of have to see how this goes. So there's our sauce. We're going to add the sausage. I got Graziano's Spicy Italian here. Yeah, the recipe did say meat, so you can do burger, any kind of sausage, of course. We're going to add some pepperoni too, I think, just because we have some left over from when we had pizza a week or so ago. This really has me intrigued because I'm surprised at how it holds up to the meat going on top of it, yet it's really liquidy. I'm excited to try it. Okay, so there's our sausage. Now we're going to get into our mozzarella. Put that on top. Shredded this ourselves. And we won't quite have enough, so I got a little bit of left over of the pizza blend from Fairway. This is the Graziano's. I think it's like Sarratino mozzarella cheese. We buy it in the block and shred it ourselves because it's really, really good cheese. Now we'll finish it off with a little Italian blend from Fairway. Love the Italian blend. It's like mozzarella and provolone. We're going to cheese it up. We'll just finish this bag, right? And that's not too much cheese. Is it? Why'd you chuckle, Mrs. Cheap? Is there, and you know what?
The crust is spreading.
Is it? Oh, that's a good thing, right? I'm thinking it looks like a real pizza crust now. And no such thing as too much cheese. That's a rule. That's kind of a rule in cooking, but really with pizza there is such thing as too much cheese. I don't like saying that because I love cheese, but you can get too much cheese to where it doesn't brown or all melt all the way. So now I'm just going to top it with the pepperonis. And this is so odd. It looks better the more we get into it. Wow. I think Jennifer may have a hit on her hands here. Rosie, this looks great so far. Pepperoni, I guess I might as well use it all, huh? Right? Hey, that's an odd looking pepperoni. Don't put that on the pizza. Oh, now I'm in trouble because look at that. I'm out of pepperonis. Oh, I'm going to have to move these around a little bit. That'll be okay. All right. 425 oven, and I'm just going to cook it until it looks done and the crust looks brown. Here we are, Rosie's Pizza. We got a little bit of a hippopotamus here. Let me poke that down. That's just where the crust like gets a little air in there. My little sister Julie, when she was a little kid, she loved when you got the pizza that bubbled up a little bit, and she called it a hippopotamus. Looked like a hippopotamus. So they would ask her what kind of pizza she wanted. Hippopotamus pizza, and we'd say sausage and cheese. And that was it. This looks really good. I think it browned up pretty nicely. We just got to let it cool just for a minute. But I'm thinking the crust browned up pretty well. It did spread out a little bit, so it made a full-sized pizza. I'm just going to try and get it away from the edge here. By the way, thanks to everybody again who sent in recipes. Thanks to Jennifer for sharing the family recipe. Appreciate that. Make sure you share videos with friends. Thanks for watching, first of all. 200 videos, that's unreal. I had no idea that would happen when we started this less than 2 years ago. And I have a blast doing it. So I'm glad you enjoy it. Click on like, subscribe if you haven't yet. And pass along favors to your friends, and let us know if stuff you'd like to, if you have a family recipe like this, especially with the recipe cards. Those are so great. And Jennifer included the original recipe card for Rosie's Crazy Crust Pizza. That's so awesome to see. And I just love old-time recipes and old-school recipes, from the old church cookbooks from the 60s and 70s. You know what? That's eating cheap. Those recipes, they're around because they were good tasting food that was really cheap to make. And that's what we're all about. John eats cheap, right? So this pizza, I'm thinking, is ready to go. I'm just going to cut off on the end here. I really want to try the crust. And it's a square pizza, right? Like school pizza. So I'm just going to cut off the end here because I want to try the crust. I know the toppings are good. So let's just... This is the Crazy Crust Pizza. Let me get my oven glove off here. It went all the way to the edge, so it's kind of tough to cut. So there we go. Looks browned on the bottom, right? That's a good thin crust. I've never seen a crust like that, but it's holding up. Let's give it a shot. I never would have guessed that would work. So liquidy, and it's not your normal pizza crust. I mean, this has oregano in the crust. Jennifer, I can see why this brings back great memories. Oh. And as you saw, very easy to make. Whip it up. I mean, it's flour, salt, oregano, eggs. This is great. I love it. Jennifer, thank you. Love Rosie's Crazy Crust Pizza. You know what? I want more of Rosie's recipes if you got them. These are great. Thanks for watching Johnny's Cheap. Thanks for 200 videos, for following us and watching. We appreciate it, and we're going to keep it going.